Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Two Alcoholics and a Microphone. Hello, Tia.
Hello, Brian.
Hello, and we have a special guest today with us.
Very special.
Very special.
Yeah, I think
Greg.
I am. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Greg, I'm an alcoholic, so it's 3 alcoholics and a microphone.
3 alcoholics and a microphone.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they say the third time is the charm, and the reason we're saying that is because this will be the 3rd video with excellent content that we've shot with Greg today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, we would think that we made mistakes, but the truth of the matter is that this was all just in purpose, not on purpose, in purpose.
Okay.
It was supposed to happen this way. Like, we're frustrated because, we did this twice and it didn't work. No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. We're supposed to be here. I don't know why. That's way above my pay grade. Why?
Right.
What happened? I know what happened. I don't know why, but it's cool. This is going to be the best.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah, this is great.
Very interesting. We're here in lovely downtown Noblesville in Studio B, and we've got a wide variety of subject matter to talk about the culture of AA, communication.
Well, really I think the whole point of what we've all been talking about is how to effectively communicate in the rooms of AA and during meetings.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times your whole point will be lost because you've kind of dragged on. Or like I was saying, if I make a decision before I go to a meeting that I'm just going to listen, that means that I am actively listening and not just trying to think of what I'm going to say while everybody else is talking, which means I've heard nothing.
That's true.
So
you go to the meeting with the idea that I would like to hear something rather than
Yes.
it's important for me to say something
Yes.
brilliant. I think I need to get what I can get from
Yes.
this meeting. Yeah, that's the right attitude.
yes.
Yeah,
And kind of,
I think.
well, yeah, I mean, everybody wants to fit in. Everybody wants to be a part of.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I do automated responses also, just so I can fit in and don't really say what's bothering me or my opinion on what was just handed to me as far as the topic or other people's shares. Now, I'm not supposed to take inventory of other people's shares.
I'm really good at that, though.
Oh yeah.
In
I
case
am
anybody
too.
ever wants their inventory taken, just give me a call.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, or calling somebody at 2 a.m. and telling them what their problem is.
It's good.
That's good, because at 2 a.m., they're going to be fresh and awake.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're going to want to hear it because you just disrupted their sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the best time to do that.
Super receptive.
Yeah. Yeah. Good thinking. That's when you do it. Yeah.
Thanks.
It's really that whole thing about taking other people's inventory. That's really hard because if you listen like you're trying to do, you're listening and you got to listen with the attitude that, I'm not going to judge this.
Right.
I'm just going to try to hear it. Because judgment is not a good thing. I mean,
No.
But we all do it. We're prone to do it. But we're not. It's way beyond our pay grade. And when you judge, then you're going to judge yourself, and that's where you get into this. Did I say something dumb? Or well, you didn't. If you're not judging other people, then you're not as likely to judge yourself.
Exactly. Well, and you know how they always talk about when it comes in early sobriety, you cannot control the first thought.
Mm-hmm.
I give myself that same amount of grace when I think, oh, Lord, about someone sharing in the room. I can't control that very first rude and judgmental thought, but I can control the second one.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, no, we're going to rein this in and we're just going to hear it for what it is, and we're not going to assign a positive or a negative to it.
Right.
So you cannot control your first thought. So don't beat yourself up for it.
No. And it's interesting, again, in my view of the world, which is pretty strange, but it whatever is said was meant to be said. Mm-hmm. Even if even if you don't like it or you think the person didn't effectively communicate it, you don't know what the outcome was. I
Exactly.
mean, so many times in my life I've thought something wasn't right, and then later on I found out that, well, that worked out a lot better than I thought it would. Or vice versa. So, judgment is dangerous because you just don't have enough information to make a judgment. So, with regard to even when you feel and you have that first thought, the second thought is, well, just wait a minute.
Yes.
This is supposed to happen. I don't have enough information to know what is happening, or especially why it's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've noticed several times that when somebody says something or they're demonstrating a behavior that I haven't addressed, then usually that's off-putting to me, just because it's something, it's not what they said, it's just, it's an unresolved issue on my part.
Yeah.
And
Which is what you're supposed to be there for, right? Is to understand yourself better and,
correct.
kind of how you operate and what kinds of things are obstacles in your life.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the problem is not the problem. The problem is my attitude about the problem.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
And so I think one of the coolest things that's happened for me because of this program is that I'm able to say that and actually own it and redirect myself. And I don't feel the need to be defensive. I don't feel the need to save face. It's okay to just be like, you know what? I was wrong. And I'm just going to correct myself and move forward.
Yeah. And not feel guilty or shameful for it, right?
No, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You're not going to die from admitting you were wrong about something.
Right. It's interesting because you say it's your attitude, that we had talked earlier about how you see. Mm-hmm. How you see, meaning, and this is oversimplified, but you can see the world in terms of fear, or you can see the world in terms of love. Mm-hmm. And if you're seeing out of fear, then you tend to find things that are wrong.
Yes.
What is wrong about this? What is wrong about this? What is a threat about this? What should I not respond to? How am I frustrated about this? And then how you live is, we call it itchy, bitchy, and twitchy. Mm-hmm. But if you see from a perspective, then wait a minute, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to love.
Yes.
And there's nothing to fear. And I can just take this as it comes. Then you may hear stuff differently. Because how you see determines what you see. So then sometimes the stuff that otherwise might irritate you, with that attitude, you see it as, that's interesting. And then how you live is with more serenity.
Yes.
Because there's not really a right or wrong. It just is, and that's fine.
A better overall sense of well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing more miserable than going through your day just judging everything, because there's a lot to judge if you're in that frame of mind. But if you're in a frame of mind where that's really not my pay grade, I'm just going to let it happen and appreciate it. I'm grateful for the things I like, and I even appreciate the things I don't like, because somehow in those things there's an opportunity for me to turn it over, surrender. And you only get those opportunities when you don't like things. When everything's great, you tend to take the reins and think that I don't need to turn it over, it's all great. It's when things irritate you, they go like, oh, I don't like this. Turn it over, let it go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the misnomer about a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience is light and freeing and is licked on by kittens, or it's not. There's no growth without being outside of your comfort zone. It's not going to.
That's right.
It's not going to feel comfortable. It's not going to feel fluffy and warm and comfy. It's going to feel bad.
If it doesn't challenge you, then you're not growing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're right. On the one hand, you don't want to be stirred up. On the other hand, to be stirred up is when you grow, because you have to think about it, work through it. By the way, that whole thing about the spiritual awakening, we know this. There's the change process has been studied. Very few people change because of an event. Now, there are people who do, and that's what we call the gift of desperation.
Yes.
And they have an event in their life, and it changes them. And you hear about that with people, and it's real. But the rest of us who don't get the gift of desperation, oftentimes, and I've heard this in the room, I haven't had that. I wish it would happen. And they don't understand that the vast majority of people, the process of change takes at least a year. You start out with your pre-contemplative. You don't even know you have a problem. Then you begin to contemplate, well, I think I got a problem. And then you begin to get some information to prepare for the change. And that takes time. So people can sit in those rooms for a year and go like, I haven't had that spiritual awakening. They could say, don't stop
Before
the
the
miracle happens. Because at some point you'll go like, I have changed. I do see it differently. It wasn't a bright light.
No.
But it was a little bit lighter along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember in the first year, it's not that I could see the change myself, as that others could see the change.
That's a really good point.
in me. And so I always make sure to point that out to new people, just because.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've had the experience of people going like, I don't think I've changed. And I said, well, let me talk to your spouse.
Oh, yes.
And their spouse comes in and goes, oh, man, they're really different. And you're like, well, they don't think they are. Well, it's that gradual change. You don't notice it. But the people, I like T and I were talking the other day, we really think you've come a long way.
Oh, thanks, guys. Finally.
We do.
Despite the fact that you don't see it, we do.
All right.
Yeah. I'm glad that you're playing a great straight man for a comedy act.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point that you don't see it, but they do.
I know that there's been a couple of things that I've thought, okay, yeah, I've definitely either grown or I have lots of brain fog. Either way, but the cash register in the bookstore, the drawer pops out really quick. And so if you have anything sitting behind it, it's going to get knocked off the desk. And so one day I had a cup of coffee sitting there, wasn't thinking, customers in there, hit the cash, the cash key, and it just knocked hot coffee all over the place. And it wasn't until I was cleaning it up and just kind of, taking everything to the trash and sopping up the coffee after I'd finished the transaction and everything that I realized I didn't get mad. I didn't flip out. There was no, frick, God, shit. Nothing. None of that. It was just, okay, yes.
That's cool.
None of the coffee got on the money, so it's okay. And then, here you go. Here's your book. Have a nice day. Good day. And then picking it up and picking up the pieces of my coffee cup that I really did like.
I broke the cup, huh?
And, shattered everywhere. Coffee everywhere.
Oh, man.
And so I was carrying it to the trash can. I was like, oh, my gosh.
Isn't that something?
I've grown.
Yeah.
Because I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I'm not anything. And I just totally finished a transaction and just acted like a grown-up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the big, and that seems like something small, but it's not.
Oh, that's huge. That's huge because the interval between the stimulus and the response is really sometimes pretty small. And the fact that you see that change from stimulus and my immediate response was not what it used to be.
Exactly.
That is huge. Even
It
if
is.
it's just coffee. But it might be bigger if it's a fight with your husband or whatever.
Right.
But nonetheless, the point is that you are growing.
Yes.
I had an incident this morning, and it involved another driver in a red truck. And, and my initial reaction is to honk, even though I'm not a honker, and I get honked at a lot. I don't know why.
Because you're driving so perfectly.
And I decided not to honk this person.
Yeah, that's good.
Just let them go about their merry way.
I was also a honker. Just I'm gonna go
Yeah.
right there on the horn.
Right.
I mean, I don't drive, so
And
but when I did, I was a honker.
it was a perfect opportunity
It-
for me to honk.
Well, that again, that's a huge growth. You know, I heard a guy years ago. I'd like to claim this as my idea, but it wasn't. He said, and I thought this was really brilliant. He said, you know, when you get frustrated with those people on the road, remember, you have to have people like that in order to appreciate the people who aren't like that.
Right.
His point was, if everybody drove perfectly, you wouldn't know they were driving perfectly. You have to have some
Exactly.
people you go like, oh my gosh. And then the next guy who lets you in or whatever, you go like, that was great. But it was more wonderful because of the guy that you were frustrated with than it would have been if everybody was like that all the time. Well, I don't know. You look at like you're doubting me.
No, not at all.
Even
That-
Buddha said that jerks are our best teachers.
Yeah.
And I'm
absolutely.
sure that's a direct quote.
Yeah.
I paraphrase.
No, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe he said. Well, I'm sure he meant that.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's huge growth. You know that's the time between stimulus and response is really where it's all at. I mean, you know, you can respond impulsively, you can respond wisely. You know, but it's that, you know, the stimulus is gonna happen. The question is, what happens in between until you respond? Your space in between has changed.
And with kiddos, you learn that a little bit because when they trip and fall, the first thing they do is they look at you to see how you're going to respond. So
Yeah.
if you're like, oh my God, you know, it's
Yeah.
going to be bad. So you just kind of learn how to maintain oops, well, let's hop up, hon. Okay. Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah.
You know, even if they just got hit by a meteor.
Yeah.
So
So you're addressing their space between the stimulus and the response,
Right.
Because you're trying to mold them.
Yes.
Let's respond to these events.
instead of react.
Yeah, instead of react. That's right. Yep.
Yes.
If you have nothing nice to say, then say nothing at all.
Yeah. That's wisdom.
Was
you
it
don't-
that thumper?
That was something I heard as a child. I didn't
It
listen.
is.
I didn't
Well,
listen to it,
But it's actually wisdom. I mean, there are some
Yes.
quotes where people, you know, say wisdom is, you know, knowing
When to shut
when to
up.
talk and when to not talk. And most of them say your best bet is to not talk. I mean, you know, the wisest people don't have to say a lot.
Well, and that's looping back around to what I was talking about when you approach a meeting with the intent to just listen. A
Yeah,
wise man
right.
once said nothing.
Yeah.
Notice I said man.
does
Yeah. Well, that wasn't
Well,
sexist or anything.
does
No.
something need to be said? Does something need
Yeah.
to be said by
By
me?
me.
Right.
Does something need to be said right now?
Right now, yeah, and I love that. That's really good.
The if it passes through the gates, is it true? Is it kind?
Yes,
Is it necessary? And then I think that we can add a fourth one to it is it any of my business?
well, that's right.
That's a good.
That's a real good one. Maybe actually ought to be the first one. Is this
Well,
any of my
really.
business to begin with? And then if it is, no, the other three.
Right.
But you're right. We're always quick to decide that, you know, well, how do I need to? Well, maybe you don't need to
Exactly.
communicate it at all. Maybe it's just none of your business.
Maybe you
Let
just
it
need to
lie.
hush.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that about wraps this one up. What do you
Oh.
think?
All right. Anything else?
Hmm.
Guest?
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for coming on the show.
Having me on, it's very enjoyable. I do enjoy both these people. I enjoy them when we're not even on camera. Really, truly, this isn't just an act. I mean, I'm acting a little bit, but I really do enjoy you guys. So
Yes,
Well,
that's
thanks.
why we asked you to come on, is
Thank
because
you.
we enjoy you very much
thanks,
too.
thanks.
And I like what you have to say.
Good. Well,
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to take credit, but most of the time it just comes through me. I can't take credit, but I don't want to take any blame either. By the way,
No.
if you can't take credit, you can't
You
take
can't
any
take any blame.
Yeah.
That's wise advice. That's very wise.
It's wise. Yeah.
Well, if you think you have a problem,
Reach out for help.
and please like and subscribe.
But most importantly, share this with someone who you think might be struggling. We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.